we search for those who have gone missing so others can learn how to survive. I'm Nakia. This episode of Rat and Cat, we're going to talk a little bit about the problem with Native American women disappearing. My wife sent me an article, and several articles actually, about Native American women missing from Montana, especially the Blackfoot tribe. And I started looking into that more and found a couple different studies. One that says that over 2,000 Native American women are missing from Canada and the United States. And there's another study, I'm just going to read this, a new report released by the Urban Indian Health Institute, a tribal epidemiology center, aims to shed light on the cases of missing and murdered indigenous women and girls. It goes on to say that in addition to assessing the difficulty of obtaining records of how cases were tracked, the UIHI also focused on how reporting by the media contributed to the issue. Of the 506 cases documented, 95% were never covered by national or international news outlets. Of the coverage they could find, Lucchesi and Echo Hawk noted that 31% of the outlets used what is considered violent language, which is defined as language that engages in racism, misogyny, or racial stereotyping, including references to drugs, alcohol, sex, work, gang violence, victim criminal history, victim blaming, making excuses for the perpetrator, misgendering transgender victims, racial misclassifications, false information on cases, not naming the victim, and publishing images, video of the victim's death. Such reporting can cause additional harm by perpetuating negative stereotypes of American Indian and Alaskan Native communities. Furthermore, the lack of sustained reporting minimizes the issue and limits the efforts to increase the community dialogue on how to improve safety for all who go missing. As something I've noticed outside of the Native American community and just searching, that there's a lot of stereotyping or labeling of different people, and I think a lot of it's inaccurate. I think I've noticed in a couple of cases that I looked at, people said, well, it looked like he was on drugs, and there are other symptoms such as dehydration, illnesses that or bacteria that you can pick up from drinking contaminated water, lack of sleep. All of those things can make you look like you're on drugs and act like you are when you're not necessarily. And it's until you find drug in somebody's bloodstream, that's not a fact. And so it's easy to assume that somebody was a bad person, and maybe they did have connections to somebody, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what happened. That's not conclusive evidence. And that's one thing with David Politis. He throws out all the cases where drugs or alcohol or anything like that was a factor. And the thing is that a lot of those cases, that's not proven that those are a factor. So you're just throwing out a lot of cases. And you can look at all these mysterious cases where people just disappear, and that's interesting, and it's certainly worth looking at. But there's an even bigger problem here in the United States of people missing in the wilderness, and then beyond that. And I was working on a video this last week about it. I was hoping to have it out this last Friday night, but it just was too complicated, even though it's a shorter video. There's a lot of statistics in it and a lot of information, and I'm just barely scratching the surface of what's going on here in the United States and other places around the world too, actually. Why people are disappearing. It's a big deal, and it's made me look at things a little differently, and how I am looking out for my kids and my family and myself, trying to be more prepared all the time. And I'm going to talk more about that, so I'm not going to give away everything this time, but this coming Friday night I'm going to talk about that more. So go ahead and tune in. But I'm really interested in this issue with Native Americans, especially. I know Hispanic women, and well, not Hispanic, immigrant women in general, and children tend to disappear as well. And in all of these cases, I know with the Native American situation, it's with all, first of all, with all of these cases, it has to do with the people who won't be missed necessarily, people who are vulnerable. They can be foster kids who aren't well connected with their parents, runaways, things of that nature. They can't be people who are on drugs. But sometimes people are on drugs not because they chose to, but because they were raised in a home where there was a bunch of people using drugs, and that's all that they know. And to me, it's wrong to just blame that on them. Everybody has a choice, but sometimes a lot of our choices are taken away from us or made for us prior to us getting a chance. And so I think those are important to look at. We shouldn't just write them off. And in the Native American community, many of you have probably read about this, there's actually a bill that they're trying to pass to require that these cases of missing women are registered in the FBI database, because right now they're not. It's important to take into these cases to take a closer look. And across the board, I'd say that there are many, many undocumented cases of people that are forgotten, and there is an industry building off of that. And we cannot let this happen. We cannot let this grow further than it already has. It's already a huge industry, or industries, I should say. So I know I'm going to get some flack one way or the other for what I've said here. Some of you will agree, and a few of you will disagree with some of the stuff I've said. But please leave your comments below. I look forward to your feedback in what you think about this issue, and I hope to look into this more in the future. And as I can and as I have time, looked into some more individual stories. I have a hard time going down the path of simply talking about crime stories. I really want to focus on positive experiences in nature, safety, that sort of thing. And I will be talking about my cabin here, some just because, or my family's cabin, just because that's going to be big in my mind. But those are happier things. I have to really concentrate on those things for my own sake. But I think it's really important to look at these darker corners of what's going on in wilderness disappearances and other disappearances as well. So stay tuned to that this Friday night. It should be up there at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And until then, I hope you have a great, safe week. And like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you next time.